Hey, welcome to Make Better Drinks. I'm David, and today we're going to talk about how to create new cocktail recipes. And of course, there's lots of ways to do this, but I'll show you a really easy method that you can use to make great new drinks at home. So, let's make some drinks. So the inspiration for this video actually comes from a challenge that was put out by some guys in the YouTube cocktail community. So I want to give a shout out first of all to 60 Second Cocktails, Rob's Home Bar, and Booze on the Rocks. So this is the Flower Power 2021 challenge, and the idea was that everyone should make a cocktail that uses a floral ingredient and also uses a flower for a garnish. And I just thought this would be a really great opportunity to not only make a new cocktail, but talk about a really useful method for how to make new cocktails. So the method that I'm going to use here is one that I got from the Death & Company cocktail book, which I really recommend, and it's called the Mr. Potato Head method. And the idea here is just that you take a cocktail that you already know and that you like, and you just start swapping out some of the ingredients while keeping the proportions relatively the same. And sometimes you have to make some adjustments, but it's a really good place to start if you're going to make a new drink. So when I thought about a floral ingredient, my mind went to the Last Word. Now, the Last Word is one of my favorite cocktails. I'll put the recipe up on the screen here in case you want to make it yourself, but it's really simple. It's just 4 ingredients, all equal proportions of gin, maraschino liqueur, green chartreuse, and lime juice. And in case you're wondering, the floral component here is the chartreuse, which is a really interesting liqueur. It's made by French monks. It's a secret recipe, and it has, over 100 herbs, plants, and flowers in the mixture. So I just thought this would be a really nice starting point for a cocktail. And then I just started kind of swapping out some of these ingredients. So first I thought, well, green chartreuse is really nice, but maybe I'll do something a bit more mellow. And so I decided to swap it out for yellow chartreuse. Now, yellow chartreuse is actually the exact same ingredients, although in different proportions. Again, the recipe's secret, so we don't actually know, but it's a little bit sweeter and a little bit more mellow, but still has that nice sort of herbal quality to it. So next I thought maybe I'll swap out the base spirit, and gin would work in this cocktail, but I really wanted to try something a little different, so I took out the gin and I put in Reposado Tequila. And so Reposado Tequilas are just aged for up to a year, so relative to a Blanco tequila, it's going to be a little bit more mellow, a little bit more complexity in the flavor, so I thought it would go really well against the chartreuse. But I thought the maraschino liqueur would be a little bit overpowering in this case. It's quite strong, it holds up well against a green chartreuse, but the yellow chartreuse, bit more mellow, so I thought I really need to try a different ingredient. So I took out the maraschino liqueur and I put in an orange liqueur. So I put in some Cointreau, which is a triple sec. It's really nice, it's sweet, but also has this really great orange flavor to it. And then I kept the lime the same because, lime, tequila, they go really well together. So this was my initial spec for this cocktail. And I made it, it was actually pretty good, but I found it to be a little bit too sweet. And that's because the Cointreau, relative to the maraschino liqueur, was sweeter. Maraschino is a little bit dry. So then I thought, well, maybe I'll just take out the Cointreau and put in a different orange liqueur. So I swapped it for Grand Marnier. Grand Marnier is also an orange liqueur, but it's blended with cognac, and so it has a little bit more complexity to it. It's not quite as sweet. And then I made this drink, and this was also a pretty good cocktail, but I found the Grand Marnier was a little bit overwhelming. It was a little too much in this drink. So I decided to take out the Grand Marnier and put in a dry Curacao. And so the Pierre Ferrand dry Curacao, which I really like, and this ended up adding some dryness, but it wasn't quite as strong as the Grand Marnier, and so the cocktail ended up balancing out fairly nicely. And so this is the spec of the cocktail that I actually ended up making, and hopefully that just gives you a sense of the process that you can follow to make your own cocktails at home. So I'm going to go ahead and make this drink. All right, let's go ahead and make the cocktail. I'm going to start with 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, and I always like to start with the cheap ingredients first, and that way if I happen to mess up the cocktail or something like that, then I don't end up throwing away any of the booze, any of the more expensive ingredients. I'm just tossing out some lime juice, which is relatively inexpensive. So I've got 3/4 of an ounce here, put that into my shaker. Then next I'm going to add 3/4 of an ounce of yellow Chartreuse. And if you've never tried yellow Chartreuse, I really recommend it. It's a really nice kind of sweet herbal liqueur. The green is also really good, but yellow Chartreuse just goes super well in so many cocktails. It's a really nice ingredient. Then I'm going to do 3/4 of an ounce of the dry Curacao. I really like the Pierre Ferrand brand for the Curacao, and unfortunately they don't sell it around here anymore, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess if you can't find this product where you are, doing kind of an equal parts mix of Cointreau and Grand Marnier will get you pretty close. But if you can find the Pierre Ferrand, I definitely recommend it. And then last, I'm just going to do 3/4 of an ounce of Reposado Tequila. And again, this is just going to add sort of a nice kind of mellow, grassy note to the cocktail. It's going to make it really good. So those are all my ingredients. Next, I'm just going to add my ice. I add, usually 5 or 6 ice cubes to kind of fill up the shaker. And then I'm going to shake for about 15 seconds. All right, so that's ready to go. I'm gonna grab a chilled coupe from my freezer. I always recommend chilling glassware if you can before you pour your cocktails, especially if it's gonna be served up like this in a coupe where there's no ice. That way your cocktail stays cold a little bit longer. And I usually double strain shaken cocktails too, just in case I smashed up any of the ice cubes while I was shaking it, so you don't get those in the drink and kind of, end up with an over diluted cocktail. Go. And finally, I'm going to garnish this with a flower. I just grabbed one of these from a houseplant we have around here, so I'm going to drop this in. And there we go. Now this cocktail is patterned after the last word, so I decided to call it an addendum. This is the addendum. Let me give it a taste. Yeah, so that is really nicely balanced, and you taste all the ingredients. You get the dryness from the Curacao and also a bit of an orange flavor. This nice herbal complexity that comes from the Chartreuse that also adds a bit of sweetness to the cocktail. Pairs super well with that Reposado Tequila, just adding this really interesting kind of grassy, complex note to the cocktail. And then the lime juice, of course, making it really tart and refreshing. So that's the cocktail. Give it a shot. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, or if you'd make any changes to make it an even better cocktail. But there you go. That's my entry for the Flower Power 2021 challenge. So thanks for watching, and let us know in the comments how you like to create new cocktail recipes at home. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.